Well, welcome to this episode of Wisdom and Knowledge. I'm your host, Dr. Terry Warren, and today I am so excited. I have a very special guest, Dr. Gordon Peterson. Now, Dr. Peterson is not your typical doctor. He's actually multifaceted. He has a PhD. He's a doctor not only in naturopathic doctoring, but he is a medical doctor, and he is a researcher and a scientist. And he is just an amazing man that has tremendous talents and is touching and changing lives with the things that he's discovered. Dr. Peterson, welcome.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm excited about you and what you've done. You have numerous degrees. You've authored some 70 books, 5 which are bestsellers. And so, you have taken an area that is dealing with health, but I kind of want to say not only dealing with the health, but preventing problems in health. And, there used to be an old saying that an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. And I believe that you have come up with some solutions that are very viable. Tell us about yourself. You're a PhD. You're both in the medical world, the natural world, the research world. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I did this because when I was getting my education, my brother got sick with Crohn's disease. And the doctor said, you know what, he's going to suffer a lot and probably die early unless you can find an alternative. So I started pursuing the alternatives and the traditional medicine, and I became a doctor, board certified in anti-aging medicine. But then I found that didn't give me all the solutions. I got a PhD in immunology, thinking the immune system must be our solution. And again, it didn't give me all the solutions. I kept seeking for knowledge because I believe that the human body can heal itself if you give it the proper tools. But along the way of gaining all this knowledge, I learned that no single branch of medicine has all the answers. And so I started helping my friends, my family, and others. But I've never lost that thirst for learning, because just around the corner, there's going to be something new that will help my family.
So, what you have developed is a silver product, and silver's been around for a long time. Tell me a little bit about silver.
Well, silver is a mineral, and they mine it, and they make coins out of it. But you can also take that silver and you can purify it even more to where you can make a liquid silver. And the liquid silver they used to call ionic silver. And then there was a colloidal silver, and then there was a silver sol. And many different forms of silver have existed, but they're all really strong acids. And when I went to Africa to help the children with their diseases, I found that they needed a silver that was alkaline. And I thought, well, so do we. So I developed a product that they could take every single day called structured alkaline silver. And it's something you can take every day because it's not an acid like all of those inferior silvers of the past. And it's because of the children in Africa that I developed this product. And while I was there, I actually published a cure for malaria using silver.
Now, I know that colloidal silver has been around for a long time. A lot of people have used it. Explain to us the difference between colloidal silver and the silver that you've developed, which is an alkaline structured silver.
So, first of all, colloidal silver is a strong acid. Secondly, colloidal means that the particles that are in the water separate out and settle to the bottom. Maybe you've seen this with grape juice or with milk. The heavier parts settle to the bottom. So a colloidal silver has larger particles that fall out of solution and don't give nearly the benefit while being a strong acid. Now, structuring and making alkaline the silver, I've now got a silver product that will work far better, work faster, destroy bacteria and viruses and yeast all at the same time, more completely, while being alkaline. And the structuring of it matters because structured water in this form has been scientifically documented to peel back what we call biofilms in the body. They're like a mucus layer that protects germs from your immune system. So structuring the alkaline silver gives us the ability to destroy bacteria, viruses, yeast, and do it with an alkaline liquid rather than just tap water that they use in colloidals.
So bacteria and viruses and yeast, explain how many diseases or sicknesses that are out there are based on those things, or that is the root problem that causes those. I guess that would be a better way to put it, huh?
Well, of all the suffering diseases that are out there, about 85% of them are classified as a bacteria, a virus, or a yeast. So a bacteria example would be strep throat or a staph infection. A virus could be influenza. Think how many people suffer from influenza. And yeast can be a yeast infection that women suffer routinely in warm, moist areas of their body.
And so the silver that you have, and you have more than one type. You have a liquid silver, which, if I would, this is it right here. It's liquid, and you would just, and I learned something interesting from you today. And I want to share something. You know, I very seldom, I've known about silver for a long time. Matter of fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, but during the bubonic plague, people were wondering, why is it that the royals and those didn't die and the normal people, the average person, did? And it's been said that the reason they didn't is because they were eating off of silver plates. They were drinking out of silver cups. Is this true, or is this just one of those fairy tales that people tell?
No, it's medically and historically correct that the people who ate off of silver did not die from the bubonic plague because the plague was a bacteria on their food. So they also got a cliche coined from that experience. They were born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Maybe you've heard that.
Yes.
And it's because they had enough money to eat off of silverware using silver utensils, and because of that, they survived the plague better than those who didn't have the money to do so.
Well, I know in the Bible, before I get into my own personal story, because I want to share this, in the Bible, you know, I believe in supernatural healing. I believe, you know, Jesus talked to the blind man. He saw there was a person with leprosy, which was, I guess, in relationship today, cancer would be like leprosy was then. It's the worst possible thing anybody could get. He spoke to the lepers and they were cleansed, okay? But I also know that God used the things of nature to heal as well. And, you know, he told somebody to go dip in this pool. He spit in mud and put it in a person's eyes. So even from the beginning of ages, aloe vera has been used for, you know, different things have been used in nature to heal. But my own story is very unique. As you know, I'm a pastor. I go to Africa quite a bit. Matter of fact, the last year actually was in Africa 5.5 months out of the year. My last trip, 2.5 months. Now, I know this is kind of embarrassing to say publicly, but on some of those trips, I get diarrhea. And typically, I go and I get the pills for the diarrhea, and within a week or so, the diarrhea goes away. Well, the last time coming back from Africa, I was there 2.5 months. I came back, had the diarrhea, went and got the, you know, the Imodium and the other things that you buy, and a week later, the diarrhea is still there. 2 weeks later, the diarrhea is still there. A month later, the diarrhea is still there. And I went, wait a minute, you know, it's not good to have diarrhea for a month. And, you know, I was smart enough to keep liquids in me and stuff like that and all of that. But I started to get concerned. So 2 months into it, I decided I'm going to go to the doctor. So I go to the doctor. They send me to the hospital to get tests. I had tests, blood tests. I had stool tests. I had tests checking for pathogens. I had tests checking for parasites. I mean, every possible test that they could figure out to do to determine what the root cause of the diarrhea was so they could fix it. They even put me on antibiotics. Nothing helped. Almost 3 months later, I'm still having diarrhea. And I was talking to your general manager or president, and he said, I think our silver can help you. So he sent me a bottle. I got the bottle at about 3 in the afternoon from the mail, opened it up, took 2 teaspoons, put it in. That night, went to bed, got up the next morning, still had diarrhea, took 2 more teaspoons. That afternoon, 2 more. That night, 2 more. I got up the next morning, and to my utter amazement, I had no diarrhea. So I am truly a believer, because whatever caused that diarrhea had to be some form of bacteria or virus. And so I can personally tell you from experience that the silver works. So you have a couple of different types. One is the liquid. Tell us, doctor, what would the typical applications for the liquid be?
Well, the liquid is very simple. What you're realizing is that when this liquid goes into your mouth, it's going to go down through your entire circulatory system and then pool in the bladder. It works all the way through the digestive system, all the way through the circulatory system, and it's still working in your bladder, because silver doesn't change from when it enters or when it leaves your body. So we have a liquid for swallowing. 2 teaspoons twice a day will keep you well. Double that will help you during times of stress or times of illness. In addition, we realized that keeping it in place was so important that I developed a gel. Now imagine for your hands, you can just put it on your hands. Now you've got 5 hours of protection. What do I mean by protection? No bacteria, no viruses, no yeast. That's a pretty good deal, because about 70% of all of our diseases come from hand contact, either from picking up food, shaking hands, greeting people. I can't tell you, whenever I go into a large audience of people, this goes on my hands, lips, and nose before I go in to shake hands, hug people, and kiss people. And believe me, the prayer of faith heals the sick, but part of that faith is to learn what will help protect you from these problems as well. So part of my faith is to drink a little silver, put some on a gel. I also have these lozenges. Now, these are silver-based lozenges. So imagine now, if you're prone to getting a sore throat and it's from bacteria or a virus, you put it in your mouth and you suck on it. I'm going to do it right now because it keeps my voice moist. I have a lot of singers at Juilliard, in fact, that use these for their voice. I have people who have radio talk shows for 3 hours a day on nationally syndicated radio. They can't afford to lose their voice. They suck on these regularly. Now I'm getting the benefit from silver. I'm destroying bacteria, viruses, yeast, gel on my hands, liquid in my body. I even have a non-toxic silver soap and silver mouthwash. And the reason why is because of all the experiences I've had in the medical world, I find that if we can keep the body controlling its bacteria, viruses, and yeast, the rest of the problems don't ever get so severe. We keep ourselves well longer, and our serious illnesses are not as frequent.
Yeah. Now, you've written these 2 books, which is very interesting. One is The Silver Miracle. And, you know, now, he's a very generous person, because you can go to his site, www.mydoctorsuggest.com, and there's a section on there for books, and you can push and you get a free copy.
Yeah, digital copy comes to you right now, and it's just because I want this information out. And I've written many books, and I've written, 5 or 6 bestsellers, and these books I'm just sending to you free if you'll go to my site and click on the book.
Yeah, and I would suggest any of you out there that do ministry, if you're traveling and going to Africa or anywhere, take the silver with you. Okay? The other one that you wrote is Health and Beauty Secrets for Her. And this is for women.
Yeah.
And we talked earlier, and one of the things that is unique about this is the silver product helps women with some things that you were talking about with regards to vaginal problems, which is a serious problem for women. Explain to the women out there how this product can be beneficial to them.
Okay. Women have a special kind of faith and a special kind of caring for others. Not that men don't, but women seem to have it more frequently than men. And when that happens, they're taking care of everyone else, almost to the exclusion of themselves. So women, what happens here, and I've spoken to OBGYN associations, I've done research and published papers, when you can take a silver gel and you can put it on the parts of your body that are being afflicted with a yeast problem or a bacteria problem, then within a very short time, the silver gel can destroy the bacteria or the yeast that's causing the problem. So in those women parts, those warm, moist areas of the body, the silver gel is absolutely remarkable. Because what happens is, if you go to the doctor and a doctor writes you a prescription for an antibiotic, it makes the yeast overgrow. And if they give you an anti-yeast drug, it makes the bacteria overgrow. And a lot of time women can't get that warm, moist part of their body under control. Silver. And actually what we'll have women do is soak a tampon with the silver gel, insert it vaginally, wear it through the night, take it out in the morning. 3 days in a row, you do this, and you know what? Bacterial scratching and itching goes away on the outside, and the burning on the inside can go away as well. And if it's a urinary tract problem, liquid poured down through your body is going to pool in the bladder, where it will continue to destroy the problem there. So women, think about this. If you drink 4 ounces, that's about that much of the bottle. If you drink that much, that's the same size as your bladder. It's going to go down your throat. It's going to end up in your bladder, filling the entire bladder with God's antibiotic, if you will, to destroy the bacteria, the viruses, and the yeast in there. And in this way, you don't necessarily always have to run to the doctor and climb up on the table and put your feet in the stirrups and go through that whole humiliating process, because you know that this is going to work, and it's going to work overnight. And the reason why is because silver destroys the cause of these problems at its source, not like some drugs that just neutralize symptoms.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that he said to me, and I wish I had known this years ago, I happen to have 5 children, 13 grandchildren, but one thing that I know was common with all the little babies was diaper rash. And I heard you say that this works tremendously beneficial for diaper rash. So to those young mothers out there who have diaper rash, tell them how it's a benefit.
Well, diaper rash is really a chemical burn from either urine or bacteria that's gotten on the baby's bottom. And when you realize silver can be applied right to that wound, it's going to reduce the inflammation, it's going to destroy the cause of that chemical burn, and it's going to activate stem cells, which will help heal the wound literally in about an hour to an hour and a half back to normal. It is miraculous, and I've seen it work. Even in emergency rooms, I've seen it work.
Amen. And other things, like bed sores maybe?
Yeah. Anywhere that there's a bacteria, a virus, or a yeast, and that includes psoriasis kind of issues, that includes immune system, that includes gut problems where you might have an imbalance of bacteria or an overgrowth of yeast. We've talked about vaginal. Think about feet. They grow fungus, and it can help with fungus quite readily, and you just have to have the faith to try these, put them on the body and or in the body, and let them be in place for at least 2 minutes in contact with that particular problem, and you're going to get a very beneficial solution.
Now let's talk about one other subject, and this is something, we are the baby boomers. We are those that are, we're not the millennials, but one of the biggest things that people have always sought after was youth. They want to remain young forever, okay? I can tell you, I'm almost 70, it doesn't happen. But people want to stay young forever, and I know one thing, that nothing works as well as it did when you're in your 20s, and you get aches and pains that you don't get in your 20s. But everybody is looking for anti-aging. I mean, it's like everywhere you go, people are talking about it. There's all kinds of products for it, and you talk about the fact that these products could be beneficial for anti-aging. How can they be beneficial for anti-aging?
Well, as an anti-aging doctor, number one, it's going to destroy bacteria, viruses, and yeast that cause premature aging. So we'll take that premature aging away, number one. Number two, when you mobilize the immune system, it's your best anti-aging tool in your whole body. So the immune system is responsible for fighting off an infection or any crisis in your body, then rebuilding the cells. But if you're always having a crisis, like a chronic intestinal problem, the immune system doesn't have enough energy left over to rebuild the system. By taking away the workload from the immune system by destroying bacteria, viruses, and yeast, the immune system now immediately has the ability to become an anti-aging agent. It's going to go and rejuvenate skin cells, intestinal cells, vital organ cells, brain cells. So in doing so, recognize that herbal medicine makes the immune system work harder. Silver takes away the workload from an overworked immune system.
Now, I've heard it said, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, or I was taught, that the body heals itself. Is this correct?
Yes, it can.
It can. Okay.
Well, we also need the rest of the story.
Okay.
The Bible says that the prayer of faith heals the sick, meaning the body will heal itself if we learn what we need to learn and do what we need to do. Faith is an action. So if we are actually believing, learning what we need to do, giving our body what it needs, then it will heal itself. And so the prayer of faith includes faith, and silver is one of those parts, because we know that if we can get it in contact with a germ for 2 minutes, it's going to do its naturally assigned job, which is to destroy that germ. So by doing so, we now have the faith in exercised form for the body to go ahead and use it to heal itself.
Wow. I believe, and again, this is not a cure for anything. We want you to understand that. What this is to help the body heal itself.
Correct.
It's to improve the quality of life for those that are struggling with things. And it's something that can be a preventative to keep you from having a problem.
And if I might add to that,
yes.
The studies from Harvard and Boston University, and I got to present this research at the Naturopathic Association, was that when you take liquid silver at the same time you take an antibiotic, it makes the antibiotic 1,000 times more effective and reverses antibiotic resistance at the same time. So what I'm telling you is, in this world of resistant bacteria, of super germs, silver is going to be our future.
I was just going to ask you about that, because that's we have about 2 or 3 minutes left here. That seems to be a big issue today.
Yeah.
Is the doctors are saying, scientists are saying that with all of these super germs, that the antibiotics that we have will not be able to deal with them. And there's some truth to that, correct?
It's actually very scary. It's a scary movie waiting to happen, and it's happening in our hospitals today. 1 in 4 people checking into a hospital actually get an infection from the hospital, and it's usually a bacteria that's stronger than what they can get outside the hospital. They actually label them H. A, hospital-acquired staph, hospital-acquired strep, because they're way more resistant than other forms of bacteria. So we're going to need something that doesn't become resistant, silver, for instance, and something that will actually destroy the bacteria at the same time the viruses, at the same time the yeast. All natural silver is our blessing.
And so on your site that you have, www.mydoctorsuggest.com, you can go on there and you can read about the different applications of silver. You can hear testimonials of people that have taken the silver. And, of course, you can order the silver, right?
That's right.
So what would you say to those people out there that are listening about just taking care of their health, taking care? And does nutrition in that play a role in all this as well? I mean, you talked about something that you mentioned the word essence of wellness, correct?
Yes, on all my books I give my general philosophy, essence of wellness, where every letter in the word essence is one medical principle of wellness. You see, when I talk to my people, it's very important to have them know in one word a memory of all the wellness tools. Eat, sleep, supplement, exercise, neutralize poisons, clean water, and eliminate stress. That's the essence of wellness. And on my website, you can have a questionnaire that will help you balance your life with all the principles of wellness so that you can prioritize your wellness.
Well, one thing I know is if you're not in decent health, you can't be any good to anybody. And, you know, health is one of the most important things that we have. And the doctors come on here today and give you some key principles that will help change your life, will help improve the quality of life that you're living, will give you solutions if you're struggling with something today. Doctor, I want to thank you for being on here today. You're an awesome guest. You explained everything very, very well. And I want to encourage you to go to his website again, www.mydoctorsuggest.com. It's up on the screen. And I want to encourage you to go, look at it, read it. And if you see anywhere, I can see for women that's critical. For new mothers, for the throat lozenges.
Cold and flu season.
And one thing that I learned is if you have a problem with the throat, you got to gargle with it. It's got to be on the affected part for 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yep.
And then it'll kill the bacteria. Again, this is Wisdom and Knowledge. I'm your host, Dr. Terry Warren. My guest today was Dr. Gordon Peterson, and we look forward to our next episode. Thank you for joining us, and have a blessed day.